All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Demetrius Andrade moving to 168 pounds to chase Canelo Alvarez and get a shot to be his mandatory against a guy named Zack Parker in the UK. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the 168-pound division. Demetrius Andrade is vacating his belt at 160 pounds and moving up for a title eliminator fight against Zack Parker to become Canelo Alvarez's mandatory challenger. But before we get into that, let me first say thank you guys so much for continuing to support the channel. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please feel free and accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of when we release more videos, and make sure you hit all notifications. That way you get all of them and not just some occasionally. But again, thank you guys so much for talking this boxing with me. Even if you are a Canelo Alvarez fan that's probably not going to like the tone of this video or many of the other videos or conversations that I have about Canelo Alvarez or have had about Canelo Alvarez lately, because in my opinion, man, Canelo Alvarez is not doing right by the competition, but for the people, not doing right by boxing, in my opinion. Demetrius Andrade, though, in recent is dead set on, and as is Jermall Charlo, as is David Benavidez, who's now just recently joined the group of people that could qualify to get a fight with Canelo Alvarez. They're not giving up on the pursuit, and they are now, looks like they are moving up to 168 pounds to get titles in those divisions or put themselves in a position to be mandatory challengers to Canelo Alvarez in the 168-pound division. And so what happened today was Demetrius Andrade agreed to terms with Zack Parker to fight him in the UK after there was a purse bid, and Queensberry Promotions, or I believe it's Queensberry, not Queensland. Please forgive me, but it is the promotional company for that Tyson Fury is represented by, and Frank Warren over there in the UK. Frank Warren was the name that I was looking for. Frank Warren's promotional company over there, because that's who represents Zack Parker. So Demetrius Andrade is now going to go to 168, go to the UK most likely, to fight Zack Parker on foreign soil again under Queensberry Promotions. And unless, you get a situation like honestly, a lot of situations have been going on over the UK lately where these guys are getting robbed, like Jack Cottrell getting robbed against Josh Taylor. Unless there's a major robbery or something really goes wrong, Demetrius Andrade should be able to beat him in that fight, in his first fight at 168 pounds. And if he does that, he will become the WBO mandatory for a title at 168 pounds. Now, does that mean that he is going to get a Canelo Alvarez fight? No, it does not. However, it puts him in a better situation to get the fight and get an opportunity to make a lot of money, which is what everybody in boxing is trying to do, including Canelo Alvarez, who so hypocritically said to Demetrius Andrade that I know all you want is payday. All you want is payday. Look, man, that's what they all want. They all want a payday. They all want to be able to be part of a $100 million fight. But the question is, have you done what you deserve, done enough to deserve that? The fact of the matter is, the way that boxing works, as soon as you become somebody's mandatory challenger, you have done enough to get a shot at that, to fight that champion. That is how boxing works. When Jermall Charlo won the WBC belt, or was in position to become a mandatory at 160 pounds, he did enough to fight for that WBC belt. And the WBC took that opportunity away from Jermall Charlo by creating this franchise belt that elevated Canelo Alvarez, and then they handed Jermall Charlo the WBC belt that he had. Did not give him the opportunity to fight the champion in the ring for it, because they said that Canelo Alvarez is too big to have mandatories. If the same thing happens, Demetrius Andrade, also champion at 160 pounds at the time, Demetrius Andrade had the WBO belt. Canelo Alvarez had the other 3 belts. Canelo Alvarez wouldn't fight him there. So if you now go up to 168 pounds and Demetrius Andrade is successful in beating Zack Parker and becoming the mandatory challenger for the WBO belt, he has done enough to deserve a fight with that champion. Now, the question is, if Demetrius Andrade gets that belt at 168, will Canelo Alvarez refuse to fight him in the 3rd consecutive weight class that he has been in? And I'm telling you, the numbers are going to, for all of the people that talk about Canelo Alvarez's legacy, those numbers are going to start adding up. If Jermall Charlo was a champion at 154 pounds and Canelo Alvarez was a champion at 154 pounds, Demetrius Andrade was a champion at 154 pounds, and Canelo Alvarez was a champion at 154. Canelo did not fight either one of those guys. Move up to 160 pounds. Jermall Charlo was a champion, was not a champion at the same time because Canelo Alvarez left the weight, got that franchise belt and left the weight class, but Demetrius Andrade was a champion at 160 pounds, same time he was a champion at 160 pounds. Did they fight? Did Canelo Alvarez fight him at 160 pounds? No. If you move up to 168 pounds and Canelo Alvarez is the undisputed champion and Demetrius Andrade becomes a mandatory challenger to him and he doesn't fight him, that would be the 3rd consecutive weight class that Canelo Alvarez refused to fight Demetrius Andrade in. Same thing would be true if Jermall Charlo moves up and fights for a championship belt at 168 pounds while Canelo Alvarez is undisputed champion. That would be 3 divisions. 3 divisions, and that more than likely will be the case for sure, Demetrius Andrade. 3 consecutive divisions where he's a champion at the same time as Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez doesn't fight him. If he then moves up, just to add ridiculousness to the scenario, what happens? Imagine that Canelo Alvarez goes to 175 and he's undisputed at 175, and Demetrius Andrade goes to 175 and becomes the mandatory, and Canelo doesn't fight him then. How many times is one man got to be a champion in the same weight division as you and or your mandatory challenger before people start recognizing that you're ducking the guy? And I'm going to tell you, as it relates to Demetrius Andrade, I think that the problem with Canelo Alvarez fighting Demetrius Andrade is that Demetrius Andrade is the one guy stylistically that I think not only would I say has a chance to beat Canelo Alvarez, I think has a more than likely chance of beating Canelo Alvarez because he's a southpaw, he's a very slick fighter, he is a very awkward fighter, he's got very good punch, he's got very good footwork, and he is very difficult to hit. Something that sounds a lot like Erislandy Lara and a lot like Floyd Mayweather Jr., people that Canelo Alvarez lost to, in my opinion, or the southpaw Austin Trout, who really is not even nearly as mobile as Demetrius Andrade. Canelo Alvarez is beating you can say they're good fighters, they're champions and all of that, but they are the same type of fighter. They are a fighter that stylistically fits his style. He is faster than these guys at those bigger weight classes. He's faster than them. He is also, because he's a strong guy, can hit. He's very elusive. He's elusive with his upper body, not elusive with his feet, but elusive with his upper body, and has very good defense. For guys that fit that Eastern European mode and that straight up and down, no frills type boxing, Canelo Alvarez can beat those guys all day. It's when he gets in there with those athletes and people that are going to do different things, and you may not know what to expect, but they know what to expect from you and have the reflexes to respond. That's a different scenario. So, but anyway, my hat goes off with Demetrius Andrade for moving up there and doing that. On the other side, though, I would not mind seeing him just fight Jermall Charlo. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight David Benavidez. Those type of fights can happen as well, and it would be good for him to beat those guys if he can get the fights, because then he would take those guys out of contention for getting a Canelo Alvarez fight, right? However, still doesn't guarantee that Canelo Alvarez is going to fight that guy. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.